We have our aviation expert in here, John Gagliano is here. John, good to see you.
Good to see you.
You've been flying how many years, you think?
21.
21, and small planes and bigger planes as well.
Yes.
Okay, this is a Beech Bonanza. As I remember, it's probably made in my hometown of Wichita. It has the tail that has kind of a V.
Some of the older ones did, this one didn't.
This one did not.
Has a straight tail.
But built in the 70s.
Yes, but these planes undergo a comprehensive annual inspection every year where the plane and the engine get torn apart, looked at by a qualified mechanic and inspector, and then put back
So
together.
that would not be a concern of yours if you were flying a plane that was built in 1975?
I was built in 1975, and I've flown planes that were built in 1975.
Yeah.
But as long as the inspection is current and it was worked on by a qualified mechanic and inspector, it's not a huge concern.
Okay.
So what do we know about what happened on that morning? So it's a Saturday morning, and we, oh, not Saturday morning, it was 2 days ago, it was yesterday. So, but it was a little bit cloudy outside. Do we think that weather could have had a component, or what do we think occurred?
Weather could have had a component. He flew into the clouds shortly after takeoff. The clouds were pretty low, they were at 800 feet. Yesterday morning, it cleared up nicely, so by the time a lot of people woke up, it was clear. But in the morning when he took off, just after 6 a.m., there were some low clouds in the area that let you think about potentially instrument failure on the pilot's instruments, possible disorientation, could have been an engine failure. It's too early to tell at this point, but those are some of the possibilities.
How will you find out what happened? Because nobody survived. There's no black box. So what does the NTSB look at?
Well, you just heard the NTSB investigator in charge talk about trying to get some data off the plane. What he was talking about was data on the flight instruments in the panel.
Oh.
Also, something everyone carries with them, an iPhone, an iPad, an Android phone. Those collect data, and there are apps that pilots use that collect breadcrumb trails, precise GPS positions that the NTSB usually takes and downloads and helps them reconstruct the flight path.
Yeah, we have been listening to some transmission between the pilot and the tower, but that would be before the plane left the ground.
Before the plane left the ground, and then after, as the plane is flying, he's continuing to talk to the tower or to an air traffic controller. There was reports that he didn't make a distress call.
No.
You know, pilots are trained. Aviate, navigate, communicate. In other words, keep yourself upright and flying, keep yourself navigated in the right direction.
But if you know you're crashing, are you really going to take the time to call the tower?
Right, communicates last on the list.
It's last on the list. Now, I don't think he's only been a pilot about 5 years. When do you get comfortable being a pilot of a plane like that?
Depends on how much you fly. The FAA has regulations about how often you have to fly to keep yourself current and proficient to fly into those instrument conditions into the clouds.
So we knew he flew, I guess, the weekend before that he had been flying, and so we have a little bit of knowledge about that he'd been trying to fly, relatively frequently. What do we know about the communications on the ground? That's not concerning to you, some of the conversations back and forth with the tower before takeoff.
So before takeoff, you have a flight route that's planned. Often the tower changes that route, and he just tells you on the phone, the man or woman in the tower tells you on the radio, and you have to read it back to him. So if you weren't expecting a route that he read you, and you read it back wrong, that happens all the time. It's just a small communication error that doesn't...
But you clean that up before you take off.
It has to be read back correctly before you take off. That's a requirement.
John, good to see you.
Good to see you.
All right.
Thank you.
Better circumstances next time. Well, take a quick break.